Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. Hope you're doing well, feeling great. Thank you so much for stopping on in. Today, we're going to take a listen to the first movement of Music for Strings, Percussion, and Celesta by Bela Bartok, released, or I should say written, 1936. We're listening to this because this was suggested and sponsored by R. Gray. R. Gray, thank you so much for the recommendation and for the support. I truly appreciate that. And I've seen this particular piece as well mentioned in several other places by Mr. Minimago, Lagwolf, R. Gray as well, I see from a few months ago, Rory Reviewer as well. So thank you guys so much for the suggestion here. We've listened to Bartok's Piano Concerto number 2 recently, which is really cool. And so let's see how we're listening, like I said, to the first movement here. We're going to see how this one stacks up. So let me pull it up here really quick. We're going to give it a listen. This is going to be coming from, hold on, I just lost it. Oh, I just lost it. Hold on. I had it up here, and there it is. Is there it? There it is. Okay, I found it again. Okay, we're listening to it performed by the Berliner Philharmoniker. Here we go. I was wondering where it was. like how you can hear the strings kind of following one another in their patterns. harmony. Celeste. What a scenic piece of music. That had such suspense held in the air to it. And from barely a peep of volume, it builds up into a clashing and something very conflicted in that middle section. But what I thought was so cool, and it's the smallest thing, but I loved how after that epitome in the middle rather, in that peak, when it comes down, then we have the Celeste enter. And the way that it plays is so gentle, so light. It's like a snow falling on the landscape of the track and of the piece. But it's not snow, it's ashes. There's something in the aftermath to it in the way that it performs and plays afterwards. It truly feels like just ashes slowly drifting down from the sky from some unnamed disaster or tragedy and just falling back to earth. And I thought that that was the biggest standout in this piece because it builds up in this really cool brooding kind of way. And I like how you can hear the melodies kind of chasing after one another when it comes to the string sections, and how eventually there's another lead string section that comes in and pushes it to that final head in the middle. And then afterwards, just that downward trend from there. So this is a piece, this is a movement that really climbs up the mountain and then comes back down the slope on the other end, bringing something with it from the peak, in this case, the Celeste. And when it hit that section here, I just want to back it up really quick if you don't mind. When it hit that section with the Celeste, it kind of reminded me, actually, not that I've never seen the show, but we do have the ride over here in Orlando. It reminded me of Twilight Zone a little bit. Like this particular section and sound. Where's that Celeste? There it is. There's just something about it, you know? And it reminds me of the ride, because that ride used to terrify me when I was a kid. The first time I'm not a ride person or roller coasters and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, when I was a kid, it terrified me, the whole beginning, if you've ever seen it or whatever. And I think that fits so well with that kind of sound. And even Art Gray, you said that, you know, it may have had a little bit of an influence on suspense and horror films, and I can absolutely see this having that particular influence on the future of cinematography and film, when that would be coming out a little bit later. I know film was around at this time, but just in further subsequent films, especially with, you know, building that air of tension and suspense in here. And I think the piece did it really, really wonderfully here. Let's look at some of the info about this. It's one of his best known compositions. It was commissioned by Paul Sakir to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the chamber orchestra Basler Kammer Orchestra, dated 1936. Premiered in Basel, Switzerland, 1937. As the title indicates, it was written for string instruments, percussion instruments, and Celesta. The ensemble also includes a piano, which, due to hammer mechanisms inside, can also be considered a percussion instrument. Not wrong. The Celeste joins the pianist in some 4-chord passages. Bartok divides the strings into 2 ensembles, which he directs should be placed antiphonally on opposite sides of the stage, and he makes use of antiphonal effects, particularly in the 2nd and 4th movements. Should be placed antiphonally. So it's just on opposite sides, basically, to give it a little bit more of a surround sound, so to speak, kind of movement. Okay, let's talk about the first movement, since that's what we listened to. The first movement is a slow fugue with a constantly changing time signature. That's why I suppose the string sections are kind of following each other. The movement is based around the note A, on which it begins and ends. It begins with muted strings, and as more voices enter, the texture thickens, and the music becomes louder, coming to a climax on E, a tritone away from A. Mutes are then removed, and the music becomes gradually quieter over a gentle Celesta arpeggios. The movement ends with the second phrase of the fugue subject played softly over its inversion. The first movement can be seen as a basis for material in the later movements. The fugue subject recurs in different guises throughout the piece. Well, while I can't speak to, note A and this and stuff like that, you could definitely hear what it's talking about in the way that those muted, the mutes, I guess, are removed from those strings and they're stopped, and then allowing those notes to sustain and to grow emphatically, as in a sense, because they grow into that mountainous climax, and then, like I said, coming down from there. Let's see, the popularity of the piece is demonstrated by use of themes from this work in films and popular music, such as Being John Malkovich, never seen it, The Shining, never seen it, and many others as well. The architect Stephen Hall used the overlapping strettos in this piece as a model for the form of the stretto house. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting to use the notes in architecture. Never even thought about that, using music in a sense to inspire architecture. It's kind of interesting. Let me know what you guys thought of the piece, of course, in the comments down below. Thank you, Art Grace, so much for the recommendation and for the support. Thank you for the request. This was an enjoyable one. And it was my favorite part really is that Celeste when it comes down the mountain slope after hitting that peak on the back half of this one. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Thank you as always for being here. Come back tomorrow, and I will see you all then. Bye, guys.